Stay tuned and let's check out this Marvel Legends Spider-Man retro carded Mysterio. Pow and welcome back to the channel, Dan Who Reviews. As always, my name is Dan W. Make sure you are following me on Instagram at It's Dan Who. And remember now you can hit that join button and become a channel member as well. Either show some love or join the members club. Much appreciated. Today we are taking a look at another Marvel Legends Spider-Man retro card. And for the second time on this Toy Biz tribute packaging, we've got Mysterio, but this time he is much more accurate to how the character appeared on that 90s animated series, and they've even included the undomed Quentin Beck head sculpt for the very first time, which is a nice touch. So this is absolutely my mind's eye of Mysterio, and you'll notice the difference here from those original pre-order pictures is that head is now on display, as previously it was hidden behind the dome. So I think it's a good thing that the new elements of this are on show for people, as we've gotten that other skull head with the tentacle that you see here previously with the other Mysterios. So this is our third Mysterio in the recent modern Hasbro era. Like I mentioned, the previous version was on the retro card, and I would usually be against characters going on the retro card again, but if they're going to make it more accurate to the animated show the second time round, I'm absolutely for it, as this line started as just sort of a tribute to the Toy Biz line, but now we are getting those animated accurate designs as well, which I very much appreciate. So we're getting closer to completing that accurate looking Insidious 6, that is for sure. But Mysterio looks great front and center. You know I love this retro card, especially when the characters are accurate to their animated looks. On the back we get the stencil, the picture, and a write-up that says, special effects artist Quentin Beck becomes a famous villain Mysterio using mind-bending illusions to simulate mystical powers and commit crimes. So without further ado, let's get him open. Here we have Mysterio out of the packaging with his accessories on the table. And some of these are very familiar, as we have gotten them with the previous versions of Mysterio. Like I mentioned, we've gotten that skull head. We've also gotten these effect pieces before that attach to his feet and give the illusion of like smoke and tentacles. Very nicely done, to be fair. And they do help him stand, as that cape can otherwise be a little bit top heavy. We have the new Quentin Beck head sculpt and then a set of open palm hands as well. But it does very much look like the animated Mysterio, which I'm very happy about. So we'll look at all those accessories very shortly. Let me get the tape measure out so you can see to the top of his dome he is about 6.5 inches in height. So average Marvel Legends scale, no complaints there. And it is on a completely pinless body, pinless knees and elbows. It seems like a generic base body, but with the new gloves, boots, bout piece, and they've also updated this sort of cape dome element, which are attached to each other. So you can take the dome off, but it is glued to the actual cape itself. And you'll notice there isn't an additional third head hidden under there. So you can still plug this on with the heads attached, of course. So we will check all that out. But first, let me just get the previous two versions of Mysterio on the table. Booyaka, booyaka! Here we have our Marvel Legend Mysterios on the table. And I apologize if their white domes are disappearing on my background, but I assure you they are all intact. They are all there. So we've got the first version of Mysterio that was in the Lizard Build-A-Figure wave over here. Then that got reissued, redecoed, and put on the retro card for the very first time over here. And I think this colorway was meant to be a tribute to the animated show, but it never quite worked out. As you can see, the one in the middle absolutely stands out with the much more animated, accurate color palette. And obviously, the actual details of the bodies are much different as well. So these two are on an older body, so they've still got the pins. This one's completely pinless. The only shared element that I can spot are the boots. The boots seem to be the same across all three, just with different deco, of course, but then the actual designs are different, as the gauntlets and the bout pieces obviously are not even there on these two, but the gauntlets were much more different to what we got in the animated show. But these two share the same cape and dome element, they just had a different deco on the dome. The first one was a lot more translucent, but with the new one, we do have a much more animated, accurate dome, which is a little bit wider, and it sits nicely in the cape as well, but it still plugs into the back. So I'm assuming we can fit a head under there, but we shall find out in a minute. But yes, all three of these are fair game for a comic Mysterio in your display. Remember, it's your display, you create the rules, but my mind's eye will always be what I've seen on the animated show. So without further ado, let's take a closer look. So let me borrow Robo's background. Thank you very much, Robo. So I can show you this pearlescent white dome, which does glimmer a little bit underneath my lights, but it is very accurate, like I keep mentioning. So this time it is embedded inside the cape. There's a look at the back, and it does sit a little bit lower and a little bit wider than the previous versions. But of course, the difference with this dome is that it's removable. So let me show you, not just the cape, which unplugs at the back like so. So there you go, you can take the dome completely off. The actual dome can unclip from the inside as well, so you can pose your Marvel Legend holding the dome. So there you go, I've just removed it. So the dome comes completely off the cape. So now we can plug the cape back on, and again, you peg it in to the back like so, if it will allow me to. There you go. So now we can put these alternative head sculpts onto this figure while he's still wearing the cape, which you couldn't do with the previous versions as the dome wasn't removable. So let's check them out. First, we have this skull, which we have seen before with the previous Mysterios, just now in a pink purplish plastic. And it's a skull that has sort of a tentacle wrapping around it into the mouth and then coming out of the eye socket. It's actually a really nice head sculpt, to be fair, demonstrating one of his illusions. I don't think it's animated accurate by any means, but still something fun to give you some display options. And like I mentioned, we did have this with the very first Lizard Build-A-Figure Wave Mysterio. I think we got a running change, as the first one was green, and then I have actually got the white version that looked better under the dome. But there are a couple of different colours out there. Now we have it in pink. However, more interesting for me is that we have this undomed, accurate Quentin Beck head sculpt pulled straight from the animation from those few brief scenes we've seen him without his dome. And I really like that we can keep the cape on as well for a more accurate look. So I like the head sculpt, I like the expression, the frowny eyebrows, the blonde hair that is tied at the back as well, so you do get that little ponytail. And yeah, it sits inside of the gap for the head sculpt and the dome, which is very nice. So again, the head, even with the space inside there, you can still get him looking up, looking down, side to side, because there is enough room to work with inside where the dome should be. But now, obviously, more interestingly, you can actually get him to like hold the dome for a display, which we haven't been able to do with the previous Mysterios because their domes were glued to the cape. So now it just gives you that additional display option. Of course, you have to make sure you can't see the bottom of the dome. You can maybe spin it around a little bit, but it will absolutely work in a display. He looks great. In regards to actually attaching the dome while the Quentin Beck head sculpt is on there, you can make it work, as this isn't attached fully, but you can absolutely just sort of get him to look down a little bit and then reattach the dome. So you definitely can't see any seams sticking out. So yes, you can put the Quentin Beck head sculpt under the dome, but it may not like fully secure, but you can absolutely make it work for a display. You might be able to fully secure it if I put enough pressure on there. I just don't want to damage the head. So yeah, that looks fine, doesn't it? And the head sculpt's under there. So yeah, you can make it work. And just to fully confirm, you can reattach the dome and clip it into place with the Quentin Beck head under there. So now you know. And in regards to the rest of the body, it's just all green. So it's like a full green base body. He's got his trunks, which are a little bit of a darker green. And then this bout is a separate piece with the central bit being green and then a little bit of purple, which is accurate to the show. You've got these gloves, again, accurate. And then these boots as well, which are the same as before, now just repainted. There's a tiny bit of swivel, but not a massive swivel there. But you have got pinless knees and pinless elbows, and of course the cape will be limiting, as it's sort of a rock hard cape. It's not really that soft plastic we're used to. It's going to hold its position, so he'll look great on a display, but not going to give you many dynamic poses. But otherwise, it's on the sort of Vulcan body, so you have got the double jointed elbows, the butterfly joint, the bicep swivel, all the standard articulation, a little bit hindered by the thickness of the gloves there. Of course, you've got the crunch forward and the crunch back, not so much because of the cape, of course, but if you wanted to get him in a flying pose, I guess you could make it work a little bit if you want to get him on a flight stand. The legs go that far out. There is a swivel at the thigh, and there is a double jointed knee as well, and he can sort of kick his own lower back, but like I said, hardly a boot swivel. It wiggles a little bit, but I don't think it's meant to. And then you've got ankle pivot and rocker. So standard sort of Vulcan body articulation with the additional gloves and boots and his bout. But yeah, this absolutely looks like Mysterio. In regards to accessories, like we've seen out of the packaging, he comes with a set of fisted hands. We also have a set of open palm hands, which are much better for those poses where you want him pretending he is casting those mystical spells and illusions versions, so I like that we have those options. And then we get these effect pieces, which we have seen before, that essentially attach to his feet, so it looks like he is sort of creating smoke, and these have that same tentacle sort of effect that is on the translucent skull as well. Again, we've had these before, but I don't think we've had them in pink, and they look pretty nice. They do the job for sure. Definitely quite unique. I'm actually using my green ones with Madeline Pryor on my X-Men display, but these pink ones are going to work really nicely with this. So there you go, a closer look at all the bubbles and the tentacles and the smoke. That's where his foot goes. There's that one, and then his foot can go in the gap on this side there. But yeah, they do the trick. Let's try them. And there you go. You simply clip them onto his feet and they sort of act as weights and will hold him down on display, as sometimes his cape can be a little bit back heavy. So they give him a little bit more weight for posing. And again, it looks like he is creating or manifesting some type of tentacle smoke to come out of. So I guess we should put that additional head on to complete the look. There you go. Mysterio's making you see some type of creepy skeleton tentacle ghoul. So yeah, looks really good. But like I said, this is the display option that I appreciate. We haven't been able to do this pose with any of our other Mysterios, where we can have an unmasked head and he is holding his dome. So this will fit beautifully in an animated display. I think that looks really good. And as a bonus, if anybody was curious if the Quentin Beck head works on a regular suited body, here we have the better pinless Matt Murdock body. So yes, the Quentin Beck head does peg on there, but it does look a little bit big for this body. And also, he never really wore a suit in the animated show. I think he was in a prison outfit once and just some regular civilian clothes. So yeah, if you're curious, it works, but yeah, probably not accurate. And then one more look at all of our Marvel Legend Mysterios together on the table, but this time Quentin Beck is holding his dome, because like I said, that is the unique element of this particular Mysterio. You couldn't do that with the previous versions, as the capes were glued to the dome. But if you wanted to swap domes and capes, I guess we could try. Now, I don't know who would have wanted to do this, but there's always somebody in the comments of these YouTube videos asking me to do this nonsense. So here we have the new Quentin Beck head and body, but with the old translucent dome on top. It actually sort of gives him like the fishbowl look properly, doesn't it? But because it's on a different base body, the peg's not going to fit into the back, as it's in a different place. The hole isn't in the right place. So yeah, that looks ridiculous. It is not accurate to any version of Mysterio. It actually looks like that old Toy Biz toy where you could switch the head, if I remember correctly. But anyway, you don't need to swap the capes. And the advantages of having such a secure cape means you can actually put a flight stand under there and it will hold the weight of the Marvel Legend. So this is probably my favourite way to display Mysterio. Just put a flight stand up under the rigid cape, and now we can have him on a flight stand hovering above your Rogue's Gallery. So I actually think that looks really good. So yes, you can absolutely put him on a flight stand and use him to be hovering above the Insidious 6. So let's try and build that then, shall we? And would you look at that? Now ignore the posing. I just wanted to put all these characters on the table and see them together finally, as this is the closest we have ever been in the Marvel Legends line to having an animated, accurate Insidious 6 on the shelf. That's right, I said Insidious. In the comics, it was called Sinister. In the animated show, it was Insidious. Don't ask me why, but these look really great, as they are all nearly in their animated looking looks. We've got Scorpion in the right green. Rhino isn't technically animated series, but this can absolutely work as an animated stand-in, as it looks close enough. Mysterio is of course animated. Chameleon is of course animated. Doc Ock is in his animated look. And then Shocker. Shocker for me is the biggest sort of mistake we have in this Insidious 6, as my mind's eye will always be Shocker with the black lines. And this Shocker, even though it was on the retro card, it never had the black lines. For some reason, they cheaped out, didn't give us the black deco lines. So I think if we're going to get another Shocker on an animated retro card, make him a little bit brighter in yellow and give him the black lines, and let's complete an animated, accurate Insidious 6. Shocker for me is the biggest shocker and the biggest gap in that Insidious 6 accurate looking collection, but at least every character is represented in some form. Now, I've took Shocker off the table for a minute and replaced him with a couple of random villains, as I think these are also animated accurate. So of course, we've got Smythe from the VHS 2-packs, his animated accurate. We've got an animated accurate Prowler as well. He also came with a great animated looking head sculpt. And then we've got Kraven, who is technically just a repaint of a regular Marvel Legend, but he definitely has the same color palette as the animated show. So just like Rhino, I'm comfortable fudging him in. But there are others, of course. We've got Hydro Man, we've got Vulture as well. I just didn't want to absolutely dismantle my display. But yeah, if you're building an animated rogues gallery, things are looking good. And I pulled him off the flight stand just to give you a couple of side-by-side comparisons. So here we have Scorpion and Chameleon. Here we have Rhino and Doc Ock. Here we have Kraven and Shocker. And then another guy with a purple cape. Here we have Prowler and Smythe. Of course, we needed to see this. A couple of my favourite Marvel Legends just by default. It is Peter Parker and Mary Jane from that beloved 90s animated series. Watch it if you haven't. However, if you want to see Mysterio in a comic display, then I don't see why not. Here we have a comic version of Peter Parker and Mary Jane. Of course, we need some Spider-Man. So here we have the Maximum Series Spider-Man and then the Renew Your Vows version of Spider-Man. Any of them can absolutely substitute as an animated version of Spider-Man if you wanted to, but we have got lots of options in the Marvel Legends line. But the blue and red, you can't go wrong. A couple of smaller Spider-Men. We've got Spider-Boy and Miles. For female Marvel Legends, we've got Black Widow and Psylocke. Here we have the Spider Armor Mark 1 and Scarlet Spider-Man. And then another version of Scarlet Spider-Man and Spider-Man UK. And I never did a review of Gargantos on the channel, as by the time I got him, everybody already did. But he's great, by the way, really like him. And if you wanted him to pretend to be a monster that Mysterio has conjured up in one of his illusions, then I don't see why you can't do that. You could literally have Mysterio on a flight stand, and then you could have Gargantos like fighting and his tentacles around him. So yeah, these look good. And I could be here all day with comparisons. So instead, let's wrap up with some of the Who crew. We've got Frogman, Tigra, and Jeff. And then last but never least, we've got Captain Britain and Hal Fire Hank. So, final thoughts on this Marvel Legends Spider-Man retro carded Mysterio. Now, like I said right at the start of the video, usually I would be against getting a character released that we already had on the retro card. However, if the reason you're putting it on the retro card again is because you want to make it animated accurate, then I'm all for it. I'm absolutely fine. As you know me, I love that 90s animation, and this Mysterio looks like he has jumped out of the screen. This looks great. I love the addition of the Quentin Beck undomed head sculpt as well, and for the first time we can have a Mysterio character actually holding his dome with that unhelmeted head on display as well. So now you could just have the other Mysterios in the background, and it could be like an illusion he is creating, and you can still make the use out of the other figures on your shelf already. But you know me, I love that 90s show, so give me all of the rogues gallery in that animated looks. The next one we need a redo of is absolutely Shocker to complete that Insidious 6. But you let me know what characters we are missing from that 90s animated cartoon in the comments below. Give me all of them. But if you like Marvel Legends, then you are absolutely in the right place. Check out the videos tab, find the playlists, but most importantly, please hit that subscribe button, hit all on the notification bell, don't miss out on a video, and please hit that join button, become a channel member, either show some love or join the members club. Much appreciated. You can follow me on Instagram at It's Dan Who. I'm on X at Dan Who Reviews, and as always, I will see you on the next one.